Coronation Fund Managers was founded in 1993 in Cape Town and has current assets under management of around 600 billion rand.
Yep, so we know the history here. It's did spectacularly well, but in recent years it suffered a little bit in terms of its investment performance, and as a result of that, its assets under management have declined slightly. The earnings have come in quite sharply lower than in prior years, and so some of the perfection, the success story, has lost a little bit of its luster.
Coronation has a market cap of 23.4 billion rand, a PE of 13.4 and a dividend yield at 7.5%. What do they say when you're at the top, there's one way down? There's one way to go, and that is down. And isn't that really what's happened to Coro?
I guess, yes, it really flew very high, but we also know that active management size becomes a disadvantage. At 600 billion of assets, it's much harder to produce that alpha, which they did in their growth phases. And yes, they're seeing some underperformance, losing some key institutional mandates, and generally suffering as a result. It's a cyclical business, quite geared to those assets and the performance on those assets. And if those are both declining, so you're going to see earnings decline.
So how do they reinvent themselves and regain their former glory?
It's a little bit tricky because one of the key things that's happened in the local investment flows market is people have been preferring offshore, and it's partly an anxiety about the downgrade and about the state of our politics. So a lot of individuals have been selecting offshore options, and when you go offshore, it isn't always obvious that you should use a South African asset manager in order to do that.
In fact, wouldn't your preference be for an international asset manager?
If you're in the international game and you are a pension fund and you can select offshore partners, or even if you're a private, like look what we did with the Hot Stocks portfolio in a funny little small way. We went directly into a US portfolio.
And case in point, look at how our international portfolio is holding up and the local portfolio is under pressure.
Exactly, and like I said earlier, the sectoral shifts in our local market have made it very tricky to form a consistent view. Like if you said, I don't like resources, but I like SA Inc. stocks, well, that was fine in 2015 maybe, but in 2016 there hasn't been a dead cert.
Let me come back to Coro. Can it regain its former glory?
Yeah, I think one of the areas that they've been good is actually growing that offshore asset management business, as you say, to hedge against loss of assets locally and I guess people moving money offshore. So I think at these levels it's better balanced. There has been sort of some criticism about their pay and the process around that. I think they need to improve their transparency, and I guess it really comes down to investment performance. I think they're better balanced. They did shift into resources, but we have seen that performing a lot better, and as long as stable investment performance, I think we'll see it's consolidate.
You're going to
Do we
call
have
it?
a share chart here? I'm not sure if we've looked at it already.
Coro, there we go.
So everybody did badly in the tail end, but it really did dive in 2015. 2016 started actually better for them than for many of the market stocks.
And the latest performance maybe just in line with the broader market.
I'm going to be mean and say not hot. I still worry that the getting back into resources is going to end badly. So
I don't think that you've given Coronation a hot since
for a
we've
while.
been discussing the
Only
asset
when
management
they were on the left
industry.
there, when they were
So don't
rising
say
up.
you're going to be mean and that's a kind of out of character
I've
thing to
been
do.
mean to them for the last
you have,
18 months, you're
exactly,
right.
hot or not.
It's a leverage call on the market. So I guess that's it. I'm going to say not hot.